I'ma make it burn. I'ma make it burn. Let's go. I'ma make it burn. I'ma make it burn. I'ma make it burn. I'ma make it burn. Let's go. I'ma make it burn. I'ma make it burn.
The old asylum loomed before them, a skeletal silhouette against the twilight sky. 5 friends stood at its rusted gates, their laughter echoing unnaturally in the stillness. Excitement, tinged with nervous anticipation, hung in the air.
Ready?
Let's do this.
A chorus of agreements followed, and with a groan of protest, the gate creaked open. The friends stepped inside, swallowed by the asylum's looming shadow, their laughter fading into the oppressive silence. Inside, the air was stagnant, thick with dust and the oppressive weight of silence. Light filtered weakly through grime-coated windows, casting long, eerie shadows that danced with their every step. The friends moved cautiously, their whispers echoing strangely in the vast emptiness. They found themselves in a long, echoing corridor. Rooms branched off on either side, each door hanging open like a gaping maw. Peeling paint hung from the walls, revealing the faded remnants of happier times. A cheerful yellow, a calming blue. Now only a chilling grey remained. They peeked into rooms, each one a grim tableau of forgotten lives. A rusted bed frame, a chipped enamel basin, a solitary shoe resting on its side. The remnants of someone's existence, now nothing more than dust and echoes.
This place is creepy.
The deeper they ventured, the more oppressive the atmosphere became. A cold draft seemed to follow them, swirling around their ankles like unseen hands. Whispers, faint and indistinct, seemed to emanate from the walls themselves, sending chills down their spines.
Did you hear that?
Hear what?
A whisper, like someone saying my name.
They listened intently, but there was nothing but the heavy silence and the pounding of their own hearts. Unease settled over them like a shroud. The whispers started subtly, like the rustling of leaves just beyond the range of sight. Soft, sibilant murmurings that seemed to slither from the walls themselves. Then, a cold spot. A sudden drop in temperature that seemed to suck the very air from their lungs. And with it, a feeling of dread, a primal instinct screaming at them to flee. They pressed on, their bravado fading with each step. They reached a stairwell, its steps shrouded in an unnatural darkness that seemed to devour the light. Jake, ever the daredevil, stepped forward.
Don't.
Emily whispered, her hand reaching out to grab his arm. But it was too late. Jake took one step onto the stairs and vanished. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but as if the darkness itself had simply swallowed him whole. One moment he was there, the next he was gone.
Jake, where are you?
Silence. Only the echoing emptiness answered her. Panic clawed at the edges of their forced composure. They were no longer adventurers, no longer thrill-seekers. They were prey, caught in a web of something dark and ancient. Panic threatened to consume them, but they clung to a shred of hope, desperately calling Jake's name.
Their search led them deeper into the asylum's bowels, each room revealing more unsettling glimpses into its past.
They stumbled upon a dusty room, its shelves stacked with decaying files.
Patient records, filled with frantic scribbles and disturbing sketches.
Glimpses into tortured minds forever trapped within these walls.
A name on a file stood out, its edges singed as if touched by fire.
Bart Tannen, it read, the date, October 31st, 1949.
In another room, they found rusted medical instruments laid out on a tray.
Scalpels, bone saws, and other tools that sent shivers down their spines.
This was not a place of healing. It was a place of suffering, where madness and despair lingered in the very air they breathed.
The air grew colder, the shadows deeper.
The feeling of being watched intensified, and the whispers, once faint, now swirled around them, filled with an unspeakable sorrow.
A bone-chilling cold seeped into their bones as they entered a room unlike the others. It was a padded cell, its walls stained and scratched. A single ray of moonlight pierced the gloom, illuminating a figure huddled in the corner. It was Jake.
Jake!
Emily rushed forward, relief flooding her features, but as she got closer, her relief morphed into horror. Jake sat lifelessly, his eyes vacant, his face pale and drawn.
He's not gone.
A voice rasped behind them. They spun around to find a figure solidifying in the shadows. A man, his form flickering like a flame struggling to stay lit. His eyes glowed with an unnatural light. Terror threatened to paralyze them, but Emily found her voice.
Who are you?
She whispered, her voice trembling.
I am Bart. This place, it traps me. It feeds on pain, on fear. It took me and now it has taken him.
He gestured towards Jake's lifeless form. The air crackled with energy as Bart recounted his tale. Wrongfully accused of his wife's murder, he was committed to the asylum. Tortured and experimented on, his sanity slowly chipped away. Driven to madness, he took his own life within these very walls, his spirit forever bound to the place of his torment.
The asylum thrives on suffering. It feeds on it, grows stronger. It took Jake's life force, his fear, but why?
Mark's voice was barely a croak.
To keep me bound here, to fuel its darkness.
He turned towards them, his spectral form flickering.
You have to help me. You have to release me from this prison.
They stood frozen, torn between fear and a growing sense of pity for the tormented soul before them. The weight of his pain, his despair pressed down on them, heavy and suffocating. Bart explained that his spirit was tethered to the asylum by a dark entity, a malevolent force that fed on suffering. To free him, they needed to destroy its anchor, a heart-shaped locket hidden somewhere within the asylum. The locket, a token of love from his deceased wife, had become a symbol of his pain, a conduit for the entity's power. Fueled by a desperate hope to save Jake and a growing empathy for Bart, they agreed to help. Following Bart's guidance, they navigated the labyrinthine corridors, the air growing colder, the whispers more insistent as they drew closer to their goal. Finally, they found it. A small heart-shaped locket nestled amongst the decaying pages of a book in the asylum's library. The locket pulsed with a faint, malevolent energy, its surface cold to the touch. As Emily reached for the locket, a blood-curdling scream echoed through the asylum. Jake's scream. His eyes snapped open, but they were not Jake's eyes. They glowed with the same unnatural light as Bart's, filled with a cold, calculating malice.
You cannot defeat me. This place is mine. Its power flows through me.
The entity, having taken root in Jake's lifeless form, rose to its full, terrifying power. The air crackled with dark energy, and the shadows themselves seemed to writhe and coil around them. Bart, his form flickering wildly, screamed in anguish.
Destroy it! Destroy the locket! It's the only way!
Emily, tears streaming down her face, made a choice. Igniting a lighter, she held the flame to the locket. It shrieked, a piercing sound that seemed to split the world in two. The asylum trembled, its walls groaning in protest as the locket melted into a molten blob. The entity, its anchor destroyed, was ripped from Jake's body with a final soul-rending scream. The air grew still. The shadows receded. Jake lay on the ground, his chest rising and falling with a natural rhythm, alive. But as they rejoiced, a chilling realization dawned. Bart was gone. The locket, his prison, and his only connection to the physical world was destroyed. He was finally free, but at a terrible cost. They left the asylum, forever marked by their encounter. Jake, though alive, remained haunted by the entity's touch, his eyes holding a flicker of something dark and unknowable. The asylum stood silent, a grim monument to their harrowing ordeal, a chilling reminder that some prices are too high to pay,